Okay, we are back. Just Local podcast. We might be a little bit rusty because it's been a few weeks since we've done our last one, but actually I'm filming two today. So my first guest probably doesn't need a great introduction because he has been seen pitch side at Sixways for the last 4 or 5 months, I think it's been, since I first met this chap, and he is the head of community at Worcester Warriors. It's CJ Osazuwa. Thanks for coming in, CJ.
Thanks for having me, Matt.
We're here, obviously, because they brought something along with them. What a first season it's been. Tell me a little bit about what you're up to at the moment with this wonderful trophy.
So we're doing currently a tour, mainly around schools and a couple of organisations that have worked closely with us and partners. It's been really exciting. How did we come around to it? Did we expect to be here? That's a different question itself. But now we have this amazing trophy. We can go and make an impact in the community, tell the story of how the season's come since we've come back into the league. And it's just been great fun to fill that gap with the 5 weeks where the players have been away.
Yeah.
We didn't expect it, but you know what? It's been really valuable.
And today we're day 2 of pre-season starting, actually. So when we're recording this, the boys are back in the stadium now, starting to do their training again, which is ace. But let's start by talking about you, please, if that's okay, because that's an amazing title, head of community. We're kind of really a community-focused business ourselves. So being head of community at Worcester Warriors, an amazing business itself. Can you just tell me a little bit more about yourself, how you kind of come to be at Worcester, but also your rugby career?
Where do I begin? I guess a good place to begin will be the first time I picked up a rugby ball. So I went to a rugby school in Edinburgh called the Edinburgh Academy, picked up rugby at 10, thought it was the worst sport ever. And then 2 years later, thought it was the best sport ever. I think a lot of people that come into rugby from other sports probably have a similar journey, not really understanding it. There's loads of laws that seem a little bit intricate, as we know. And I got gradually better through school, had a little spell in Scotland age grade, then went down to Northampton Academy briefly. I was a little bit overawed, being quite a young, immature 17-year-old against a very mature 18 and 19-year-old young England internationals. So I went to go and play semi-pro football for 5 years, thinking that I wouldn't come back into rugby. And then by chance meeting, I met an old friend who said, come along to a rugby club. And the rest is history. Within a couple of months, I was playing in the top league in Scotland. So I still had a knack for the sport.
Sounds like it.
Yeah, and I think actually the uniqueness of having 5 years away from the sport has made me value the sport even more. I've really valued the community around it, why it's so important to certain people, whether they're amazing rugby players or not. And then rugby took me all around the world. I've been fortunate to play Dubai Sevens, Hong Kong Tens, you can name it. I could reel it off. So again, really great experience around rugby. And then moved south of the border with my now wife, and she is from Worcestershire. And as a lot of people do, you move somewhere safe, somewhere that you're surrounded by family to build your young family. And again, that's just been another really fruitful step. I had a season with Birmingham Moseley, then transitioned into refereeing, then transitioned into coaching.
Right.
So I feel like I've experienced pretty much everything you can in rugby without maybe being at the very, very top level.
Yep.
So I think it's a perfect segue and story to kind of understanding what the community wants. And that's how I've kind of landed this role.
Fantastic. And so going back to when you were a young child playing rugby, was that grassroots? Were you at private school, or how was it? What was the school setup for your rugby at the very beginning?
So I was at private school, and like I said, at 10 years old, I was playing a lot of tennis and football before that, and just worked through the ranks. What's really good actually, and what I've really has opened my eyes, is just actually there is so much more than the private school system. I think a lot of people still think the only way to make it in rugby is via the private schools. Yes, there's still a huge percentage of them that do come through these private schools, but there's also some great kids that aren't fortunate enough, or for various reasons are just playing through the grassroots. And what we want to do, myself, and obviously we're going to move into the academy, is make sure that everyone is represented fairly, everyone has a good opportunity. And if you have the potential, you're going to get the support and the pathway to get to wherever you want to in rugby.
Yeah, that's really exciting, because I remember when I used to play rugby myself at a younger age, we were all high school kids. We went to the local Droitwich High School, and there's probably about 80-90% of our team were made up of just normal secondary school kids. And now I kind of see, as an under-16s coach, that we've got a lot of children who are coming from private school and not so much coming from the actual high school. So when you came into your position, I must admit I was really excited. It was great to meet you very early on, because I was probably in the back of my mind really excited about what that means you're going to be able to do with the local schools around here that don't have that opportunity, probably don't have teachers that can teach rugby, don't have the opportunity to explain it to kids. So there could be some diamonds in the rough at the moment that haven't had the opportunity. So how are you going to get yourself into schools? Because I know that's part of your plan, isn't it?
So this is coming into, I start halfway through the year, as you mentioned earlier, so I'm 6 months into role, and the first focus was just making sure that we can execute really good match days. We've done a really good job. There's still loads of improvements. I think the massive improvement would just be getting a slightly bigger team so we can create some really incredible memories for the people involved, because ultimately that's what it is. It's great to have kids on the pitch. It's great to have all this energy pre-match, but we want those kids to just think, wow, that was amazing. I had 10,000 fans screaming. I was out there creating the energy for the players. And hopefully some of them go on to bigger and better things. So that was step one. We've kind of done that. Step two is to start the camps for various reasons. We did a residential, which we thought was really important for people to go and insert themselves and have a few days to basically be the best version of themselves, maybe a little taste of what professionalism looks like. And now we're doing the summer day camps. We're only doing 9 days this summer, and then we're looking to build onto more next summer and just keep growing and keep growing.
Let's stay where we are then with camps. Let's talk about those dates, and just in case anyone's hearing this or listens to the end of this and then thinks I want to go back to find out what those dates were, can you remind us what those dates are for the camps that are coming up?
Absolutely. So we've got 4 days at the end of July, 28th to the 31st at Sixways. So the fantastic facilities there will be used across the whole 4 days. And then we've got a 5-day summer camp. Again, these are all individual days, so you don't have to book for all 5 days. And that'll be from the 10th to the 14th, and that's at RGS. Amazing. That's 10th to 14th of August. So yeah, we're building in with 2 blocks of week of day camps, and then like I said, we'll build on more moving forward.
And what is the age range that's aimed at?
So it's going to be under 11s, under 14s.
Okay, fantastic. So if parents are starting to think, what are they going to do with the summer holidays as children start to kind of sit on computers for hours on end, this is a good chance to get them out and about. I'm not going to be giving anything away. We're going to have any Warriors players attending these camps as well? Do they get to see any of the stars?
So it's actually been led by Alex Grove, who's got over 150 caps for Worcester Warriors.
Former Warrior,
he's also ex-Scotland international, and he currently works as first team coach of rugby school. So you're not going to get anyone more qualified than that to be leading the camps. We've also got some support. We've got Lisa Colburn, who's also by chance an ex-Scotland international. She currently works at Hereford Sixth Form, so she's got a really good girls program there. We've got Sam Poynton, who's a coach in Moseley. So I'd like to think it's probably the most overqualified summer day camp you can get.
Yeah.
What we wanted to do is over-index on experience and the people that are very top of their game.
Yeah.
So we can draw in these kids and get an amazing experience. And actually, we're not going to move away from that. We're always going to have really high-end coaches, and they're going to be supported by some really able, young, exciting coaches who will bring in that energy of being 20, 21 and 22, but also hopefully we'll then move into being the next Alex Grove and Sam Poynton and Lisa Colburn. So yeah, it's a really, really good team, strong team we've got there.
Brilliant, fantastic. So you are a coach as well, or are you still coaching this year? Are you going back into coaching? Because you had a successful couple of years as a coach, I gathered.
I coached at Bourneville with Alex, and we got them from Regional 1. We won Regional 1 Midlands, and we're going into National Leagues next year.
That's it.
I also coached the county, so I was North Midlands head coach, and we won at Twickenham, which was amazing. And obviously being involved with the Warriors, who won the champ. So yeah, all 3 teams I was involved in won everything.
Okay.
If next
you want a job in Droitwich?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm actually going to Bromsgrove next season. So I've got so I'm going to be coaching Bromsgrove next year with Louis Brown. So I'll be doing the forwards and defence, and he'll be doing the backs and attack.
Yeah.
But that works in regards to my availability, because I've actually got other commitments that are going to be more next season with the Warriors.
Yeah. And these match day activations that you've been doing, they have been fantastic, and we've been involved with sponsoring games before, and it's always an amazing crowd. But I don't think people really knew how good Warriors have been for the championship itself, because the attendance that's been happening at these matches, it's pretty much 50%, I gather, has really come from those Warriors games. It's really lifted it, hasn't it? And yeah, 5,500 to 9,000 people all at one place. It's an incredible place for kids to be on the pitch.
So first and foremost, absolutely. I think what we have is quite unique across the champ and also all the way into the Prem in regards to the amount of fans we get through the execution on the day, and also just the passion of the fans. There was a massive void when there wasn't a team. But yes, on the back of that, it's been really good for the champ. I think I need to give credit to the champ as well. I think the product they're creating has got a lot better this year. Mm-hmm. It's almost been a perfect marriage, because we've come in with our professionalism. And like I mentioned before, we still got loads we can do, because we're very much a skeleton team. And the champ is really on board in regards to how they're going to market it, in regards to the rivalry they're going to create, in regards to these guys using, I think they call it the proving ground. So it's a pathway for for people to potentially go into the Prem and be future internationals. So yes, we won an award in regards to best match day experience because it was well deserved, and we do some fantastic things. But I think the Champions deserve credit because they've been very progressive in what they're doing as well.
Yeah, it's inspiring. It does feel like there's some real positive momentum. Obviously, we've seen Sixways absolutely buzzing now, and also I've been to a lot of the away games, and you kind of see they're all starting to kind of pick up their game, I think, as a result of maybe picking from and learning from others. But Clubber TV has been a great thing for the sport as well. I think that's been making it quite accessible for people who couldn't travel to an away day, get to see what Worcester Warriors were doing at the same time. I want to talk a little bit more about the kind of the community, and obviously Head of Community is an amazing title. What does day to day look like at the moment when you're not coming out touring with a trophy around schools?
Day to day is very busy. I think coming into this role, Steve Vaughan giving me the role, there was a couple of things we had to do. First was the match day experience. Second was the camps. Third is getting into schools. The schools are so important for various reasons. I think if you talk about the energy and the upskilling of getting these kids to understand what professional looks like, to be the best version of themselves, but also to get these children and their families to be lifelong supporters and come on match days. So it's a full circle. So my day kind of rotates around those three things. Every day is very different. So for example, today would be a good example. I've come to see you with the trophy. We're having an amazing time on this podcast. Then I'm going to spend the whole of the rest of the morning building around the camps. So making sure we get as much attendance as possible, making sure I've ordered all the equipment, triple and double checking all the coaches know their roles and responsibilities. In the afternoon, I'm then going to have a conversation with a couple of Warriors players about what it looks like, getting them involved in the community team, because they're going to then start implementing our school activities, whether that's assemblies in the morning or whether that's actually going in and doing some classes with them. But for my personal focus and what I've always tried to push through is, again, I talked about the level of coaching we have for the day camps. I also want to create that level of coaching around what we do in schools, because I want these children to have access to the best coaching possible to be the best version of themselves, but also the teachers, because what you have in a lot of high schools, we talked about the private schools, what you find is the best coaches, ex-professionals, go into professional game, maybe the champ, and then they go into the best schools. Mm-hmm. So what you often have is someone that might like rugby, might not even like rugby coaching at the rest of the schools. What I'm going to pride myself on in 24 months is all these coaches who have half an interest in rugby being upskilled to the very best they can be. So going in there and seeing what they do, because they'll probably do some really great stuff, especially if they're cricketers or they're football players, and going, actually, that's quite transferable. I'd like to do a little bit of that because that's fun and it's energetic and that's what's really important. But actually, this is also something that could be really useful, whether it's just how you teach the pass, something really simple like that, or how you teach defense at very basic levels. So, like I said, my day focuses around those three, but what I really want to be remembered for in our community team is getting as many teachers in the region to have a really decent level of rugby coaching. That
would be an amazing legacy. And we talked about Cecil's legacy before, but like that would be incredible, because I remember I was under 14s to under 16, so years 9, 10, 11. Very fortunate to have Mr. Bassett, shout out to Mr. Bassett, who is a Welsh rugby playing teacher. And because of him, we all played rugby. Like there was a lot in the curriculum for us to do. But I think when there isn't that kind of knowledge, or even a limited amount of knowledge, then it tends to just drift off. So that would be fantastic to get that into local schools. And I think I'm right in saying, did you hold an event for middle schools or high schools at Sixways in the last season? Was there an event that kind of took place at Sixways?
So that's an interesting thing to bring up. Obviously, we have me, who's head of community in a very small team, and looking to build. And like I said, my version of community will be amazing match days, camps, and also this upskilling of coach development. We also have the foundation who sit alongside us, and they've been around all the way through, obviously, the administration. And they also do some really good work. So they do a lot of work with SEND, with various disabilities. They do some really good work in the state schools as well. And that will continue. What we're going to find is actually we can work together and actually work separately, because of my coaching background, and because we're going to be using access to players and all these other really high-end coaches. We're going to focus on, I wouldn't say elite level coaching, but really high-end coaching, whereas they can focus on inclusivity and actually the real enjoyment, whereas I'm going to try and get the best version of rugby players. So we're still finding our way. I'm only 6 or 7 months in, but one thing that's good is we have a really great communication stream between the two. So they're doing some really good work already.
Brilliant. And let's talk about Pathway, because it was announced yesterday when we were recording this about the Worcester Warriors Academy. Yes. We've heard about Joe Launchbury, who was the academy coach, and he's a recent signing, another fantastic signing that's kind of happened over the summer. Can you tell the listener about the academy and the plans for the academy?
Yeah, I can give as much information as possible. So it's really exciting news. As you mentioned, we announced it yesterday. We're doing a day on the 19th of August where we are getting, we'd like to think, the best kids from under 17 all the way up on through to under 20s to come. Have a bit of a combine. There's going to be physical, it's going to be rugby, it's going to be mental as well to see the application. And then we'll try and create the first cohort of an academy. It's going to be quite fluid for the first few months because what we might find is some people aren't available for that day.
Sure.
We don't want to just make sure that that's it. This is your one opportunity. So there will be other opportunities. I'll also be in the community, as will Joe, watching matches, speaking to teachers, speaking to coaches. So yeah, ideally we have as many of the best players come in, create that first cohort, but there will still be opportunities moving afterwards. And vice versa, just because you're in that first cohort for those first few months doesn't actually mean you are in the academy as such. We're just trying to get a body of people and constantly benchmarking to make sure we have the right people. Because from my point of view, which is slightly different to Joe's, we want to just make sure everyone involved are really good teammates, care about the other people around them, have a really good relationship with rugby, so lifelong rugby players, and then you can start thinking about being professionals and internationals and so forth. You just got to have really base level of really good people involved.
Yeah, bro. So obviously it's still a lot to flesh out on that, but the combine 17th of August, did you say?
19th
of August.
So Wednesday,
just checking with you.
Wednesday 19th of August, yes.
Well, remember, he's done well, hasn't he, Sam? No, that's fantastic. That is really exciting because from when Sixways was filled with the rugby team again, I think then everyone's thinking Ollie Lawrence came through the academy. Like there's been some amazing names that have kind of got to the pinnacle of careers already, but that kind of Worcester Warriors Academy I think is a very important part to the community as well. I think there's a lot of people that are hopeful to see that start to feed into a team. It seems like with some of the signings this season, I mean, as they did last season, they aren't just putting a load of old boys on the pitch, and with respect to anyone that I've just called an old boy, they are trying to get the measurement right, aren't they? They've got some real youth along with some of the older, more experienced players that have played at the top levels as well. It seems to be a good way that Matt Everard's picking the team out.
Yeah, I think that's really important. I think, again, a key word that we think about with the Warriors moving forward is sustainability. So that's not just financial sustainability, it's about playing sustainability. If you do get these young men to come through the academy, it's a lot cheaper for a start. They really buy into the area. If they're from Worcestershire, fantastic, which quite a few of them are. And then they understand what it means to be a Worcester Warrior. I think just a little segue, and I think that's really important, is from my conversations with Joe, where I'm fortunate enough to be one of the academy coaches, is understanding that we want to make sure the academy's done right. It's not just getting the best rugby players to get through and then chucking everyone off and calling them up. It's about making sure it's a really rewarding experience for them, understanding that not everyone can be a professional rugby player. I'll use myself as an example. Like I said, I stepped away from rugby at 17. In another environment, if we had the right people, the conversation had been had about, are you sure this is the right decision to do, or what's the other pathways? Joe's really keen. As someone that was released from Harlequins Academy briefly, he also understands what that feels like if people aren't treated in the right way. So yeah, I think, like I said, we're focusing on getting these amazing players to create this amazing academy, but actually the people behind that are really conscious of making sure everything's done rightly in regards to pastoral care for these rugby players, because there's a lot more to life than rugby at times.
Without a doubt. Yeah, that's a great way of thinking about things as well. So what are you looking forward to most in this upcoming season? You don't just have to say one thing. You've got obviously lots planned, but now you've got kind of you've had your 5 months, 6 months bedding in. You've had a kind of a clear run starting to have a clear run at this new season. What are you looking forward to most on and off the pitch?
I'd like to say we're winning the champ, but I've already done that. So it definitely definitely has to be a different answer. I think there's been so much hard work done behind the scenes by people like myself, people in the office, partners. We all know how hard we've worked to create this product, and somehow at the end of it, we've won the champ trophy. I would just love us to I don't know, I can't reward us, but I just want people to understand how passionate people are behind the scenes doing what we do in regards to Worcester Warriors. From a personal point of view, like I said, if we can get into schools, we can get some really good coaching and just creating a legacy of good rugby players coming from the state sector. I think that'd be really important. Match days we've already cracked. Obviously, there's always improvements that can be made.
Yep.
Camps, we'd love to get a lot more people involved in the camps. I think one thing that is really important on the back of that is our camps do have amazing coaches. I'm not saying there's no other amazing coaches out there, but we're doing it to really give these people access for whether it's 4 hours in one day or you come across the whole week and do 20 plus hours of coaching. you finish that week and go, I've learned so much, I've progressed loads, because actually there's not just one good coach. We've got 3 or 4 of the best coaches, best under 16 coaches in not just Worcestershire, probably in the Midlands. So yeah, I think those are probably the 2 biggest things for me, schools and camps.
And I don't want the listener to just think that the head of communities just in the schools. You're also going into the local clubs, aren't you, as well? You're making yourself known to Droitwich, Evesham, or Pershore, all the teams around. I guess you're trying to get into those clubs and support those where you can as well.
Yeah, and I think it's important you bring that up, because actually clubs are full of volunteers. They're full of people. They're the most passionate of people. I was very fortunate to play rugby at a good level. But what you find at these clubs, some of the first teams are playing level 7, level 8, but people turn up 2-3 times a week, put their hands in their own pockets. They're coaching on a Sunday. They're doing absolutely everything. So yeah, we've definitely not been missing them out. And actually a real quick opportunity to shout out some of the best rugby clubs that have been real good supporters this year. So Droitwich have been brilliant. Worcester have been absolutely brilliant. Old Hills, travelling a long way, they've been phenomenal. We've had Malvern, DK and Kiddie, Carolians. Those 6 have stood out. Now, what I don't want to do is segregate anyone else. We've had some real good support across the way, but those 6 clubs have come in their droves, have really bought into it. So what we'd like to do is, when we have a podcast like this next year, it'd be naming a few more clubs. But yeah, like
how do other clubs that would love to and just didn't kind of get engaged or didn't know how do they get in touch with you? What's the best way they can communicate with you?
The various ways. Community warriors.co.uk is a good way. I'll talk about what we offer on match days. I'll talk about the support, the tours, and we're also making a real point. I just had a conversation with Stephen Vaughan very quickly this morning about making sure we're going to get players into the community. We're going to get players turn up at minis and juniors on Sundays. Going to talk about it might be the match they played yesterday. Give some tips and advice to, I don't know, a 10-year-old or 12-year-old. So that's the thing we didn't manage to do last year because there wasn't a structure in place. But that's a big part of my role, make sure that these players are in the community, energising and exciting the next generation.
Amazing. They are just local exclusive. You're lucky to listen to this one. And it's when those Warriors boys turn up with their stash that you can see the boys' eyes light up when they see, well, boys and girls' eyes light up when they see these players coming across the pitch to come and speak to them. I must admit, it's one thing that I think Warriors have always nailed. In all the years I've known them, they've always been really good at engaging with the fans. They don't feel that they're above anyone. They do make sure they go and spend time with people, and I think that's shown in the numbers, the droves that come and support. Champions Day, we're talking about downstairs whilst we were having our photos taken with this, that was really well supported. Lots of people coming along to that event. What was that all about? Can you tell us a little bit about Champions Day, the kind of the bit between the season finishing, winning this, and then the new season really getting underway? You decided to have a day in between. So
I think maybe the most eternal optimist of the thought, we'd have had a bunch of strangers come in last summer and then beat teams like Ealing and Bedford. I don't think that was part of it. I think we just wanted to be the best version of ourselves. So we won this amazing trophy, which might have been unexpected to a few. And we just want everyone to share in that joy and excitement. I've been out with Sam a lot. And there's been a couple of times I've been put on the spot because we've turned up these schools where to take photos of this trophy. And then they've asked, because quite a lot of schools, I'd say 89% of them don't even understand the laws of rugby or have ever played it. And it's really important to take a step away and go, yes, this is a fantastic, shiny trophy take photo, but actually symbolises what we've achieved in such a short space of time. I think when you're going up against teams like Ealing and Bedford, who have been playing together for years, lots of trust, lots of ability, and we are a bunch of strangers who somehow have won enough matches to get the trophy. It just, like I said, it's a point of pride. It's not just a trophy. It's how far we've come and how far we're planning to come in the next 12 months.
Yeah. I mean, that is one thing that probably people don't really think about, because Warriors had a target on the back, not for the wrong reasons, but because it's such a fantastic facility. People had their own views about it coming back, and we know that Chris Holland's done an amazing thing to let this happen and make this all take place. But you'd lost to Chinner twice, Bedford twice, Ealing twice. Those games you had to win to get through to the final to walk away with this. It wasn't just an easy walk in the park, despite what people might have thought. So I think that's really good that you've been able to get out into the schools and to explain the story of where the Warriors have come from to get here. So it's really exciting. I'm sure, like me, you're all excited about what's to come in the new year, new season. Sorry, we've got CJ with us today, Head of Community. Thank you ever so much for being with us. And if anyone wants to reach out to you, it's community@warriors.co.uk.
It is indeed, yes.
Super. Look forward to the rugby camps. Get in touch with CJ if you want to book your tickets. I'm sure they're available online as well through social media. And we're looking forward to what happens in the next year or so.
Thanks for having me, Matt.
Thanks,
really
CJ.
Appreciate it.
Cheers.